I am Kelly Jones, the Veterans Resource Center Manager. So I have the pleasure of introducing Brittany Doucet, and while it says Brittany, she does not go by Brittany, she goes by Jessie. So it's Jessie Doucet. And yes, she is an Army veteran. Yeah, there you go. Got my whoas.
We like her anyway.
There you go. Easy with that, It depends. And I think for me, I came here in July of 2015, and we've done a lot of work in the Veterans Resource Center. And I say we, it wasn't me, it was a team of work study and vet corps navigators. And Jessie was actually one of our work study students. She and her husband, Zach, were coming into the center while they were both going to school here. And Zach doesn't say very much, he just kind of exists, but that's okay. Jessie did all the talking and eventually worked her way into the center as a work study. And she is just a prime example of when veterans search out the center and use everything that the center has to offer them. Academic success comes with that. Now, she's a smart girl. She's one of those bookworms, and she's an overachiever and all that kind of stuff, and that's why she's going to go on to do great things. But her story and what she's been through and where she's at today, and she's going to finish Clark in a year, right?
I walk this quarter.
Yeah, so, I mean, she hasn't been here 2 years. It's less than 2 years, and she's going to move out smartly over to WSUV and then on to PSU. So she's going to do great things in our community, but when you hear her story, I think you're going to be blown away at just where she is at this point. She had a lot of adversity, a lot of people in her life telling her that she would not be successful, and she proved all of them wrong. And she's gonna move out and represent Clark very well. So I'm very honored and proud to introduce Jessie Doucet to tell you her story.
Well, welcome, Jessie. Come on up here. And as you've seen, hopefully already, we're not that formal.
So this is my first time doing like a speech, so bear with me. Okay, so no one who achieves success does so without acknowledging the help of others. The wise and confident acknowledge this help with gratitude. Alfred Whitehead. Growing up, you could say I was destined for failure, that the odds were against me. My biological mother had a severe case of borderline personality disorder and was addicted to many drugs. She eventually ended up in prison, and at the age of 14, after living alone on the streets for a few months, I was placed in the foster care system. I was what you would call lucky because I stayed in the same foster home until I graduated. Unfortunately, I did not have a good relationship with my foster mother due to her cold and harsh nature and her tendency to call names and be verbally abusive. Because I dreaded being home so much, I threw myself into the JROTC and their drill team. Here I met the one person who I could be myself around, who was my one true best friend, and who always encouraged me to be happy with who I am, my husband, Zachary Doucet, who is seated right next to Kelly. His parents, especially his mom, Lisa, who could not be here unfortunately, but wanted to be, did not only cheer for Zach during award ceremonies and graduations, but for me as well. Very shortly after graduation, I flew to North Carolina to start my training as a U.S. Army soldier, and it was the best experience in my life. I wanted to do the full 20 years, possibly become an officer, help other soldiers the same way my NCOs and captains helped me. They taught me real values, and that you can safely ask for help when you need it. I had a major depression attack due to a court-martial I was helping with, and I thought I can tackle it on my own like I usually do. But my NCO saw me change and got worried. After talking to me and showing me he actually cared, he took me to get help right away. Why am I standing here talking to all of you if I love the military and plan to do my full 20? A medication I had been taking for years loved calcium and vitamin D, something you lack if you live here. So it ate my bone marrow instead, especially in my spine. They believe it was the ruck marching that did it because I did so much of it and loved it. But it was discovered that I had 3 rotated vertebrae right behind my sternum. If they would have continued to rotate, it would have severed my nerves, which would have killed me. I was discharged suddenly shortly after, with no savings, no plan, and wondering, what do I do now? We moved in with Zach's parents, where there was one person who pushed me to take advantage of the resources the military still offered. Someone who had been there and done it with another vet, Lisa, Zach's mom. Helped me apply for my education benefits for FAFSA, and even helped me make sure I did my application for Clark. She forced me to get my disability rating, even though I should have already. I got out because of my back, but still didn't think about getting help because of it. I was lost in this world, and she took my hand and showed me the first steps I needed to take. She was the one who took me to Clark and dragged me from advising to financial aid, registration, and finally the Veterans Resource Center, where I met a very perky and loud woman named Raylan. I swear she could tell I had no clue about anything. When you walked into this place, though, you felt welcomed. Like you could be yourself there. That year would be one of the rockiest years I have ever had. My husband and I started college together, but in the fall quarter, it was him or I who would have to drop to work full-time. He took the bullet for me and gave up his education so I wouldn't have to. It is impossible to find a place here unless you have a perfect credit score and make over $40K a year. So we ended up moving about 7 times between February and November last year. From one spare room to another, never a stable place we could call ours or home. A couple of those times we almost had to sleep in our car. We had no idea how we were going to eat and if we had enough gas to get us to another kind person who had thankfully opened their home to us. The first time the VRC saved me was when I walked in and felt like I was not helping my family financially at all. That in order to find a place to live, I needed to do more. Luckily, the VRC happened to be hiring that day. So I created my resume and cover letter, gave it to Kelly, and was hired in about 2 hours. I can still remember my husband picking me up that day and telling him, "So I got a job." And he was surprised and proud of how I got a job while still being at school. Literally, I had just taken a class and they went and got a job. They practically saved us with an extra $1,000 a month. But in the end, it wasn't enough. With all this income, it still took forever to find a place. And through all of this, I was a full-time student, worked 15 to 25 hours a week, and went home to spend as much time as I could with Zach and do homework. After the biggest stressor I have ever had, which was my sister-in-law, who we were currently living with, had a falling out with her husband, who then got her evicted. We were very close to her, and so my sister-in-law and her 2 very young kids, my husband and I, having 3 days to find a place to live, or we would be on the streets once again. Well, we did it. We both found an apartment complex in our budget who was lenient on credit scores. We both got approved, so you would think, yay, all good now. No. The next hurdle was the down payment and first month's rent, which we did not have. The VRC pointed me towards the Clark County Veterans Assistance Center, who helped us with food, cleaning supplies, clothes, and most importantly, first month's rent. If the VRC hadn't known about it or didn't tell me, I would most likely still be couch surfing or living on the streets. And then the VRC helped in a way I did not know they could. They helped me pay for 1/3 of my down payment. They saved me and my husband. They gave me the support, the courage to ask for help, and the hope that I could do this. This is the best quarter I have had all year. The VRC is an amazing place, but if it wasn't for the people who work there, who are there to help people, it would be an empty room. It is the people who help who do it all. I want to give my biggest gratitude to Kelly Jones, someone who has been a mentor, a leader, and someone who helped me more than anyone, besides, of course, my amazing mother-in-law, who I call my mother, Lisa. These two people saved my life and my husband's life. Kelly wouldn't be able to save people like me, though, if Clark College didn't let her. So thank you, Clark, for helping me become the person I am. I walk this quarter and get my AA with honors and transfer to WSU, but Clark will always be in my heart.
Hey.
Do I have any questions?
Absolutely. What an amazing story. What's next for you? You said you're going to go WSUB, or what's next?
I'm getting my bachelor's in psych with a minor in soc, and then I go to PSU to get my master's in social work.
Wow. What do you want to do with that?
I want to help kids in the foster care system because I had such a terrible experience that I want to make sure that I change it. You get treated like a criminal, even though it's your parents who did wrong and not you.
I have no doubt you will positively affect a lot of lives.
Thank you for your service, even though it didn't get to be 20 years. It does funny things to people that, serve a long time. We won't go into that, though.
It's not that funny, Jim.
But we really appreciate your story, your life, your heart means a lot. So keep up the good work. Know that you may have a good feeling about Clark, and we hope you do. I can tell you that we have a great feeling about you.
Thank you very
Complete confidence. Thank you for your wonderful story.
So thank you so much for sharing your very personal story with us. As you were speaking, I was thinking about a couple of things. One was, and at the retreat, I shared a little bit about my story, my history, and there were a couple of us that talked about like how you ultimately get to where you are in life and what separates people who are successful, right, in life and people who aren't. And oftentimes it's an intervention that may be outside of your control. And I was telling somebody, a lot of it for me, I think, were blessings and luck, that I happened to come across the right person. And it just reiterates the importance of thinking about your story, where you and your family could potentially be homeless, and the college and the community isn't gleaning the value that you have to offer to this community because maybe that luck, or you didn't come across the Veterans Center. And so it just reiterates to me how important it is when I think about our students being one person away from something that not us doing you a favor, but actually feeds back to our broader community in a much bigger way. And the other thing that comes with that is a person who is tenacious, smart as hell, and has a lot of grit, and who is driven, and that's who you are. And it's the perfect storm. And that's how we move people from stories of sad stories, or move people from places of poverty to actually places of success and giving back to the community. So thank you for what you're giving back. Thank you for being willing to ask for help, and the work that I know that you're going to do, the contributor that you're going to be to this community. It's amazing.
Thank you.
And you should have gone before her. I was going to say, I kept thinking grit over and over again, and it's truly when you face adversity and you figure out your way to move forward. So congratulations to you, and truly, as you look at that foster system, you are going to have that message that so many kids need to be able to move forward and be successful. We oftentimes in education focus on what's wrong and what has happened, and there have been some horrific things happening, but truly we have to learn to focus on what you're going to do as the future and how they can get there.
And thank you, Zachary. Being a powerful life partner.
Yeah.
Thank your mom.
Yeah, that's it.
So Jesse, I look forward to June 22nd when you walk across stage. and I
We
get
all do.
to shake your hand and hand you your fake diploma. You get the real one. So, congratulations.
Well, I agree with everything. Jesse, let me tell you, I'm very proud of you. In my 26 years, 9 months, and 13 days in the Army.
But who's counting?
Yeah, well, who's counting, right? I met thousands of young soldiers. And from the day that I met them, and this goes for almost all of them, not all of them, and you will know, when they left, they were changed. And I know that, even though your short service in the military, in the Army, is part of your character now, quite obviously to me. I mean, I can see it. You will do great.